I'm also going to talk about a set of tools that are put into a category called heat map reports. And what these tools generally do is they track the location of the mouse on the screen and where users are clicking with their mouse on the screen. So this information can be really helpful in dissecting a page that seems to be a problem. So let's say we go into analytics and we find out that there's one page with a very high exit percent, a high exit rate. This means that either it's a thank you page when we're okay with people leaving there, or are we? But we'll see a high exit percent on a thank you page because they're done with the transaction and they're going to go about their day. But when we see a lot of people leaving the site on pages before then, we have to wonder if there's something on that page that's a problem. Well, when the heat map reports are running in the background, tracking the mouse movements, we can actually go in and see if there's a problem with the page. We can also use these reports to answer some of the key questions we have in our hypothesis list, or questions about how we're going to be laying out pages, and I'll show you some of that. The heat map reports generally include a scroll map as well as a heat map, very similar to what you would see the weatherman pointing to when there's a storm system coming through. This is what a scroll tracking report looks like. And what you'll see is the high intensity white area is where that's the part of the page that most people are seeing. Of course, at the top, that's going to be where you're going to see that hot 100% view, because when people come into the page, they see the top of the page first. But then we track how many of them are scrolling down. And in some cases, you'll find that things go through red to green and then to blue and black very quickly. The parts of the page, the bands where you see it's red, that's between 50 and 75% of the traffic are seeing, or the visitors are seeing that. When it's green, only 25 to 50% of the visitors are seeing that. And of course, if it's blue, dark blue, or black, then that part of the page is what we call underwater. That means few people are seeing it, and the content that's in that part of the page is going to be completely lost. In the example I show here, you can see that the call to action form for this page is way down at the bottom, and it's dark blue, almost black down there. Maybe 5 or 10% of the traffic is scrolling down far enough to see that. And that's where the call to action is. We say this page has a scroll problem. And there are a number of hypotheses that would come from this. Number one, maybe get rid of some of the content in the middle that's pushing that so far down. Or we could put cues at the top of the page that says, hey, there's more information below. This also could mean that we just have a great offer at the top and people are going to that first. If that's resulting in conversions, then that may be okay. But what we might be doing is pushing people off to an offer before they've had a chance to educate themselves. So maybe we want to move those offers down a little bit and get the person to scroll, get more of the people to scroll down so that they can see what else is on the page. These are just some of the insights that we can get from a scroll tracking report in our heat map software. And we like to use this to find out what visitors in general think are important. So one of the great places to use this is on a pricing page. Now, a pricing page is used whenever there are multiple levels or multiple grades of a product or service that's being offered. It's often hard to decide which of the features we can list that we want to place at the top. Well, Heatmap software lets you figure that out. And you can actually go in and you can see where on the page people are clicking if they want more information, which features are highlighted the most. You can see in this example, in the blown up one, that there in the middle of the page, there is a lot of activity on one of those features. And it turns out that that feature was a very important one. So, hypothesis. Why don't we move that towards the top so that that information is available immediately to the visitor and they can have an easier time making decisions? When you want to organize navigations, either running down the side, such as secondary navigation, or along the top, such as primary or sub-navigation, you can use heat maps to determine what order to place those in, because people are going to be clicking on the ones they're most interested in. And people generally will click, you'll see in this over and over again, that people will generally click most on the leftmost or topmost navigation item. This is true in Western civilization because we generally read left to right and top to bottom. However, if we see an item that's very hot and it's not the leftmost, a hypothesis we might put in place is move that to the left so it gets seen faster and people get to the information they're looking for faster. That should help speed them on to higher and higher conversion rates. So the heat maps are very interesting when you want to understand the dynamics on the page. Another place that we use them includes fact pages. If you pull the heat map of a frequently asked questions page, you can see which questions get the most attention. And you can use that information, A, to add content elsewhere in the site so that they don't have to go to the fact page to find the answer. Or B, you can organize those questions in the proper order so that the most frequently clicked on are at the top. Again, visitors are finding the information that they're looking for much faster, and that should speed them on to their final conversion destination. Now, another thing that we'll want running under the site, under our website when we're running these campaigns, is session recordings. So this is the most boring data to collect because you sit and you watch people use the site over and over and over again. Now these tools are really on Moore's Law and they're improving. One of the tools called Session Cam actually has a suffer score. So it uses artificial intelligence to determine if someone is struggling to get through a session, if they're having trouble finding what they're looking for. And this is a function of how much time they spend on pages, how many pages they switch, how quickly they switch, how many times they revisit pages, trying to find an answer. And this can help narrow down the pages, or the sessions rather, that you're going to be watching the recordings of. The thing about session recordings is that if you don't see anything in the heat map data, but you see problems in the analytics, sometimes the only way to see it is by watching the session recordings for that page. And you'll see things there that you never would have seen any other way. It's the closest thing we have to sitting over and looking over somebody's shoulder while they use our site. It's very, very instructive. So have those running in the background as well, collecting this behavioral data. Now keep in mind that the visitors don't know they're being watched. Might be a little creepy to you, but it means that they're blind, and so are we. So this is really, really strong data. Here's an example of a session recording that we saw. This is a page that shows you the rates for a golf course. Now this is for a resort for whom golf is a big part of the calling, and also a good profit center. This page is very important. And as you can see, people are clicking on the prices. Clearly, they want to click on the price and go ahead and book an outing. But none of these prices is clickable. What an easy fix. What an unexpected discovery. And at the end of this video, you can see the person went back and clicked on the exact same link that brought them to this unhelpful page. Now, another thing that we're interested in on the page is on-site surveys. And one of our favorites is what we call thank you page surveys. So you use tools that will, at any time, based on your rules, pop up an overlay, a pop in or a pop over or a pop up, depending on the language that you want to use. We tend to call them overlays because they overlay the site. And in these, you can ask questions. You can get user feedback. So if you have a hypothesis that you don't have enough data for, you can use one of these tools to get feedback from the site. These can often trigger those as exit intent overlays. So when somebody looks like they're leaving, you can pop up a overlay and say, hey, why are you leaving? What did you not find? These can also be used to sweeten the deal, offer discounts, a number of other things. But for our purposes as scientists, we're interested in collecting this data. On the thank you page, as I said before, liking is happening, this concept where they like you more and are more likely to help you out simply because they chose you, which makes you good because they're brilliant. It's a little bit circular, I know. But the question we like to ask on that page is, what almost kept you from buying today? Or what almost kept you from signing up today? Or what almost kept you from today? What kept you from calling today? What almost kept you from asking for information today? And you will be shocked at the kind of information you get and how helpful it is. So here's an example from North Central University. We put a simple pop over there that said, what almost kept you from requesting information from NCU today? And the information we get back is great. Now, an example of where we use this was for one of our clients. The name of the client is Automatic, and they produce a plugin for your car that connects your car's computer to your phone. So you get to find out things like how fast you're going, what your average speed is, if you're accelerating too fast, if you're braking too fast, all of these things that contribute to lower gas mileage. Basically a coach for making you a better driver. But it can also alert people if there's an accident, can help you find your car if you lost it in a parking lot, etc. They have two versions. They have a light version and a pro version. And of course, they want to sell more of the pro version. But unfortunately, as when we step into the picture here, they're selling a lot more of the light version. We wanted to find out why. This is the comparison pricing page for the Automatic, and we went to the thank you page and asked them, what made you choose light instead of pro, for all of those people that chose the light product? And we got great feedback. We can look at this as in a word cloud, and sometimes this is very helpful. Clearly, this 3G issue is a big issue, and in fact, that was one of the biggest differentiators. The Pro version has a 3G connection, so it doesn't have to use your phone to connect to the internet. It can always be connected. People didn't understand what that was, and I think this comment really summarizes it best. I don't think I need Crash Alert. I have apps that track where I park just fine. Nor have I ever needed it. I don't know what live vehicle tracking means. I don't know what event-based apps means. I don't know what streaming apps mean either. We have a bit of a problem in helping our visitors to choose, which is the whole point of a pricing page. Help me choose. So we had a good clue. We had some support for the hypothesis. What did we do next? We brought in the big guns.